back from your holiday just this morning?
Yesterday morning. Okay, still a little bit tired.
And this is the first holiday you've taken in 2 years?
Yeah, first proper holiday.
Oh, congratulations on the win. Was it a surprise?
Definitely. Yeah, it was just a try to see, I guess, to gain a bit of experience. And yeah, it was very surprising that we won for such a small business and an industry that hasn't really been recognised before.
With PQ Fashions, your business, could you give us a little bit of an introduction? Like when was it founded? What does it do?
So we do clothing alterations. For most people, when you buy some clothes off the rack in the shop, it doesn't fit properly. So we can make it bigger, smaller, longer, shorter, and make people look good and feel good in it. My mum started the business almost 20 years ago. She started out she was a single parent, and she wanted to put me through school and provide for me. So the only way was to open a business with the only skill she had at the time. So with very little money and very little English, she started her first business in the TNG building just next door here for PQ Fashions. And because she worked so hard, she was very successful and grew it into, I think it was 6 people business, and acquired her second shop in 2008. And now we've Queensland's largest clothing alterations business with 20 staff.
Congratulations, that's really good. When you took over PQ Fashions in 2011, how was the market like back then?
It was very good when I joined the business. Business is going well. Mum was starting to delegate a little bit, so I always worked with her throughout all my school holidays and uni holidays, trying to help her out. And I saw how stressed she was all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm not touching the family business.
Yeah.
But in 2011, she's got an accountant, so that's already half the work done. So I started helping her with some behind the scenes stuff, and realised I actually really like it. So I started to learn a bit more about the business and take it over fully a couple of years ago.
So before you took it over, what was your background?
I used to be a pharmacist. So because she wanted the best for me, she worked very hard. She wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer because I'm an Asian girl.
Definitely.
But pharmacy, people say is the best for Asian girls because it's a steady job, it's safe, and you can go have a baby and come back and the job is still there. But I found I didn't like it at all. It wasn't rewarding, it wasn't challenging, and it was the same day in, day out.
Yeah. So coming back to the Multicultural Business Award, what was the process of selection? Because many of the entrepreneurs here we have today are all kind of multicultural background, and we want to be like you one day too. So what was the selection process? What was the key success factor that have helped you win the award eventually?
So the selection process, I'm not quite sure what they're looking for, but you start with a selection criteria where you had to answer the questions, about a dozen questions, and to try and elaborate as much as possible. And then they go through a selection process, about 12 people. You get interviewed by a panel, and then in the end they selected 4 finalists, and the winner was announced on the night. But one of the judging panel person told me they liked my story because it was different. It was trying to change the industry, trying to change the business, growing a small family business into something that's a lot bigger and more recognised in the industry.
Yeah, so very good. In the past 6 years since you took over PQ Fashions, what was the key strategy that you've implemented that has changed it so tremendously?
My number one's branding. Branding is the most important thing. My mum's had excellent skills and excellent service, but she was always putting herself down because she was competing on price and competing on speed, that I can do this cheaper than that person, give me more job, I'll be good for your business. But what she wasn't communicating was her values. So I saw that, but she couldn't. So I started to market our values and what we can do for people, and and it's really helped a lot. The second one is probably content marketing. Again, telling them why they need to have clothes that fit.
Yeah.
And then also building a lot of good relationships and partnerships.
Great. So did you say that like your background was pharmacist, but you found it boring, so that's why you got it into the clothing alterations family business?
Yeah.
And like how much gratification did you get from that? Was it like living up to your expectations?
Yeah, so well, I didn't expect anything at first. That's why it's so much better. In pharmacy, it just wasn't rewarding because people don't listen to you. You tell them you shouldn't take this drug because you might die. And no, my aunt's sister's neighbour told me I can take it. Okay. But in this job, people really feel so good when they put on something that looks really good on them.
Yeah.
And they walk out feeling amazing and they're thankful to you, and you can see the change it has made to their confidence. And that is so rewarding. And also, every job is different. It's like a puzzle you're trying to solve. Sometimes it's just shortening pants, but a lot of the time it's trying to alter something that's already made to fit someone else's unique body shape. And you get to see all the intricate work that's already gone into a garment. And to have little puzzles to solve each time is very, very interesting. There's something new every day.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess, learning our business and meeting new people. Meeting very interesting people every day.
We know that you have another brand which is called the Fitting Room on Edward, and you have PQ Fashions as well. So when it comes to brand promotion, how do you differentiate these two? Like, do they ever get confused by people because they both do clothing alterations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why branding is so important. So PQ Fashion, we focus on ladies' wear. We work with brands like Zimmermann, Skellen and Theodore and Louis Vuitton because we're really good at doing the really intricate jobs and working with women of all different body shapes. So usually when they buy a really nice garment, they know they need to come to PQ Fashions. And same with the fitting room. We brand ourselves as a men's suit specialist. So many people have trouble finding suits off the rack. And because we brand ourselves as the only people who know how to work with suits, they come to us. So it never gets confused. No one really knows that we're the same shop.
Would you say that Australian in general have put a lot of focus on fashion and body image and all that?
I think we're becoming more fashion conscious in the last few years. So maybe 15, 20 years ago, we're so relaxed. Not many people wore suits or properly fitting dresses. But in the last 5 years, we're catching up. We're definitely becoming more fashion conscious. And that's why I'm really focusing on the content marketing as well, to teach people how to look better in their clothes.
Yeah. How much effort and resource did you put towards the fitting room on Edward? Branding wise,
Quite a bit. I mean, it's a one-time investment. When we acquired the second business, it was called Brisbane City Clothing Alterations. Try and say that. Even people that has been our client for 10 years, they can't say that. So, and then I really want to grow the business. So maybe 3-4 years ago, that's when recession really started to hit the fashion industry. A lot of the retail shops were closing down, and that directly affected us. And I thought, we can't just sit around and wait for clients to start shopping again. We have to create our own market because the market we have was dwindling. So I wanted to do more content, more marketing, and Brisbane City Clothing Alterations wasn't going to do it. So only 18 months ago, we took the big leap of rebranding to the fitting room after being in Brisbane Clothing Alterations for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've got a new logo, got a new website, new fit out, new printing, bit of money.
Yeah.
But it has paid off because now no one even remembers that we used to be called a different name. And it's much more memorable. This Clem, he said, I've seen the fitting room somewhere. It's memorable. You walk past, you see it on a card somewhere, you remember it. Yeah.
I really like the creative element in your branding, which has the ruler.
Yes.
Yeah, it represents the fitting and alteration.
Yeah.
chart.
So my
Yeah.
business card has a ruler down the bottom. In case you ever need a ruler in a hurry, it is metrically correct.
Yes. Do we have any questions from the audience?
I do.
Yes.
It's so true. The fitting room is really memorable. I was told about it once, and then I was able to remember it, look it up, and find it. So it's pretty cool. But this is a question out of that's personally important for me, but also might help people know about PQ fashion. Do you also do alterations on stuff like accessories, like Louis Vuitton belts and other stuff that are accessories rather than just the clothing?
Yeah, if it fits under a sewing machine, we can do it. Yeah. But against the branding, we can do curtains, we can do school uniform, but that is not our focus. Our target client is very clear, and everyone else will know that clothing alteration business can do this. But we have a very clear vision of who our target client is, and we do all of our marketing towards that person.
Do you know your market size? Like, have you ever done projection?
No,
Research.
probably all estimates, word of mouth. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
When you're first stage, how do you find your customers? When you start your business, how do you find your first 100 customers?
Oh, I wasn't around then. That was about, I don't know, Mum said she was lucky. She had customers the first day she opened her door. But back then it was print media, yellow pages, handing out brochures on the street, word of mouth. She would go to retail shops and give them out cards and say, I can do this cheaper and faster. So a lot of referral and print media. Yellow pages, $10,000 a year. And I used to help her hand out leaflets on the street too. That's why I was like, I'm not going to this business.
Any other questions? No? Okay. So you did mention that content marketing is the major activity that you do towards branding. And we know how much time it takes to write a piece of content that's of high quality, easily quite a few hours in. So how do you find time to produce content of high quality consistently?
I'm lucky that I don't do the sewing, so my job is to work on the business. I get to work on all the paperwork, but also client management, and after that it's all marketing. I guess just try and be clever with it. Like we do a bit of automation, so we have an email funnel. So the content, it took quite a few months to refine and perfect. But once it's done, you can just leave it for a couple of years, go back and tweak it every 6 months or so.
Okay.
With blogging, we try and repurpose. A lot of the time it's not perfect, or my old blogs are terrible, but it's better done than perfect. At least it's out there, the idea's there. I'm not saying I have perfect English or grammar, but at least I get a message out there.
So with with all these medium that brings you traffic, have you done analysis on like what has been the most effective marketing strategy so far?
I've tried to, but I think it's a little bit hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, because a lot of people just say internet. So it could be search, it could be blogs, it could be
social.
LinkedIn. But I find having the content out there adds to the touch points. People need to see you, things like 7 times now to be able to remember you.
Yeah.
So you need to be everywhere. So just post it on everything.
Yeah. Gotcha. Do you also do like partnerships with other companies and businesses in order to get your word out there?
Yeah, definitely. So a big majority of our business is working with retail partners. So people like Hugo Boss, Senya, Tony Barlow, all the menswear shops. We teach their staff how to fit a suit. They would then fit it in store, and we go and collect the suits from them, have it altered and bring it back to them. And they will also, the people that don't fit in store, they will refer clients to us. We also do partnerships with a lot of large accounting firms. So I will go into pop-up stores in EY or BDO or PwC.
Such a good idea.
Just to make it easier. And we sponsor a lot of events and associations.
Yeah. So when you approach these big corporations, you know, like normally people are really busy at those companies.
Yeah.
How do you sell your value? Like how do you approach them out? Like say, you know, it's worthwhile to have us
Yeah.
come to your company and create a little pop-up shop and bring value to your employees. Like how did you get into it? How did you let yourself heard by those big companies?
I guess to sell them our value. So tell them we can save your staff time so they don't have to spend 20 minutes walk all the way down to Edward Street. We can make your staff look better and sometimes name drop. A lot of these people will already have staff. Yeah. Mention our partnerships, mention our brand, and I usually give them my little booklet as well so they know that we know what we're doing. We are the professionals. So we're not just like a small service that's just come and sell something. We're actually a professional service with lots of experience. We're validated by our partners and we can bring tremendous value to you and your staff. And they can't say no.
Very good. So how much, what's the percentage that you think you've covered the Brisbane CBD, all the big buildings and companies out there?
For men's suiting, I would say we probably have 80% of proper suit wearers. They would have had a suit altered by us or have come to us directly.
Yeah, amazing. We know that both fitting and clothing alterations very much rely on human hours. What processes and systems have you implemented so far to manage it and then make sure that the efficiency is optimized?
That's the hard part. Because we are a manual labor kind of work and the work is very delicate, so we try and have a system of quality assurance. So the staff that fits the client at the front is the most important, because if you don't put the pinning properly, no matter how good the tailor is, the garment's still going to come out looking horrible. So we invest in quite a bit of time to make sure the fitters understand the ins and outs of a garment, understand all the fashion trends, can communicate with the client properly to know what they want or steer them towards something that looks good on them. With the tailors, usually we train them over quite a few years. Most of our tailors have been with us between 5 to 20 years. There are a few younger ones that we're training, but there's no workforce out there, so we have to train them from scratch.
Wow.
And when the work is done, it gets checked by another stylist to make sure everything looks well, everything's hanging properly, all the seams are closed and all the stitches are straight, and it's what the job required.
Yeah. So when business scales up and you naturally put on more people to the team, what is your management style like managing a big team?
It's a bit hard to manage a big team at times because a lot of them have known me since I was at school. So now coming and trying to be the boss. It has been, it's getting better now. So initially when I come in, I would try and work harder than everyone else and gain their trust. We have very open communication. So when someone does something not so good, I will ask them, how can I help you to do it better? What is the reason? And if they're doing well, we applaud them straight away. Team culture is very important. I hire people depending on their personality, how they're fitting, what their attitude is. Because if you're awesome tailor, but your attitude is not good, you're not going to fit in with us.
Yeah. What do you find most challenging as an entrepreneur?
The responsibility of being a business owner, I guess. When you're trying something new, trying a new idea like rebranding, that was very scary. Like if it didn't work, you still have to try to provide a job for 20 people. So yeah, I think that's the scary part.
Yeah, I think especially if you're not of that background, you took over their business and trying to revolutionize it. Yeah, every decision gotta be quite cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had to do it because there's a lot of competition. There's actually about a dozen clothing alteration businesses just in the city, and they all compete exactly the same way. I can do this cheaper and better and faster. So we had to differentiate ourselves. So the rebranding was the only way.
Yeah.
So you can't really compare us with another alteration shop anymore.
How many hours do you work in a day?
I try to eight hours during the day. Then
That's
I
not
go
too
home.
bad.
For the kids to bed and do another 2 hours.
Okay. And like, is there any activities that you would recommend entrepreneurs to do in order to feel refreshed and re-energized after a long day of hard work?
I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, but retail therapy and a lot of wine.
I think it would work for a lot of female founders. Yeah. So if you have to name one person who has impacted on you the most since you become an entrepreneur, who would that person be?
Well, firstly, it would be my mum, because she has been very open-minded throughout everything. Everything I've said have changed. She has said yes to. She said, just go give it a try. Even when I'm terrified of trying something new, she would say, well, I started the business with no money and no English and only secondary education. If I can do it, you can do it. So that has been the most important person. But in entrepreneurial journey, I guess hanging out with other entrepreneurials, being in a high performance environment, talking to other people that's in similar situations as you, so they can encourage you, you can share your difficulties and your wins, and yeah, just the mindset, being the right mindset.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Joe.
Would you like to share the story what you win the cultural award? You said one judge select you because of your story.
Yeah.
I'm a bit curious with the story.
Oh, the story was half my mom, because I talked about my mom a lot in the selection criteria. When she started the business, like I said, very little money in English. And 20 years ago, there was quite a bit of racism, prejudice towards us and also towards our industry, because clothing alteration is pretty low on the social ladder. No one really thinks much of it, and I've seen firsthand of how she has been treated by a lot of her clients. We used to work with a very high-end menswear store, which is still in business, who we don't work with now. I used to deliver garments back to them when I was in school. And I walked up to them, I saw the guy open the door, I was like, oh, that's really nice. And he let a escort, obviously an escort in, and then closed the door on me. When he saw that I had no hands to open the door. And she gets treated like that every day. And it gets into her mind as well. So she's like, oh, we're just clothing alterations, don't try to do anything too big.
Stay humble.
Yeah, just get by, make enough money to live, that's enough. But when I came into the business, I saw, what she can do. She's been the best in her industry, and she has remarkable service. Some of the clients do really appreciate her, but not everyone does. So I guess for the last 6 years, everything I've been trying to do is elevate our social status, trying to be on equal grounds with other people, with our clients. And it's not, now we don't have to go beg for business anymore. People come to us and ask to work with us.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to a shop and say, I can do this cheaper, please give me more business. And they say, oh, what about this other place that just give me a card, they can give it to me cheaper. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We just give them value, give them the service. We're still not more expensive, but they want to work with us.
Yeah.
We're equals.
Definitely, it should always be like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the interesting part of the whole story, I think.
Yeah.
How
I
you
think that resonated with the judge.
Yeah, definitely. Yes?
Yes. I just quick scan your website, and in your blog it definitely has some great content, but how did you deliver those content for your potential customers?
So I try and write a blog every week to 2 weeks, and the contents are usually based towards my customers' questions to me every day. You try and figure out what people want, you write a blog about it, and then you try and share it in different ways. So on different platforms, on social media, and just bring awareness. People have shared with their friends as well. One of my blogs is about why guys crotch, the pants in their the crotch in their pants way out so often. That gets about 3,000 views a week. Because
That's
it's
very
a
common
huge problem.
Why is that?
Read the blog.
So you didn't really actively try to push your blog content to some people didn't really know your
No.
content.
Well, you don't want people that don't want to be a client. They have to be at the. You're trying to bring them up the 4 stages. I can't remember what the stages are of being a client. So like awareness and then a few other things.
Image and then our
Yeah.
feelings and then resonance.
So the blog is trying to get the 1st and 2nd level, and then hopefully right now we're probably between the 3rd and 4th.
Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yes.
It sounds like a way you've set yourself apart from the other, the competition is with quality as opposed to price or speed. How would you recommend other companies to, I suppose, promote that kind of quality above competition?
I guess it doesn't have to be quality, but it definitely has to be a personality for the brand and a unique selling point. If you had 2 alterations side by side and they have the same banner, like back in the day, everyone just wrote dresses, pants, shirts, leather, fur, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can choose either one. But if you just write suits and the other store has everything, you'll go to the one with suits if you have a suit. So just be really clear on what you are best at, what your unique selling point is, what your brand personality is, and who your ideal client is. If someone else has a dress and they see you're really good at suits, well, you must be really good at everything. I'll go to you as well. I'm not going to go to someone who says they can do everything.
I guess it's a bit of a risk to take as well. You know, when you're closing off some opportunities and only focusing on one, is it going to pay off with it?
It's a little bit scary,
Yeah.
but I think it definitely has paid off.
I think for especially startup founders, when you're running into a cash flow problem, you start to think, maybe I can't stick to this one thing anymore. I need to do whatever that brings in the money. And then later on, when their cash flow is a little bit healthier, then they start to think more strategically. Oh, this is the best selling product for me, and I do the best in that area. It's going to be the focus now. So did you have to go through that process as well? Like when you were rebranding and then changing directions, like did you have any, like what are some of the major risks you took into consideration before you moved on?
I guess when we did the rebranding, it was at the low of the recession, so the risk was already quite low. And I don't think it was a big risk because we were already that person that did everything for so many years. And I could tell it's just people come in, ask you questions, okay, I'm gonna go ask over there first, and then come back. There is no benefit in competing with the next person.
Yeah.
I think it's just having that focus, and then everyone else will flock to you as well. It doesn't mean you're closing off everything. It just means you're conveying the fact that you're a very focused and specialized person.
Yeah. I'll tell you this story because I always thought that I tend to think about myself as a strategic person, and I know that there are things I should be doing and there are things that I shouldn't be, especially when it comes to branding and marketing. But when I first started my business in the first year, that's when you jump at almost every opportunity. There are companies, okay, this is a very interesting industry. They help international students to write assignments. In fact, so basically that's their service, but they package it in a way, they help them with their homework, but they're just helping them to write their assignments. So they want us to help them with their digital marketing because they need the word to be out there instead of just putting little stickers on the post and all that. So they want to do digital marketing. It was such a struggle because they want the full service set from us, which means thousands of dollars for me, for my company annually. And I had to say no because it just doesn't align with our brand values. But for small companies just started, was such a hard decision. You know, people were like, "Here's the money. I want the full service." And I'm like, "No," you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess changing product value propositions and all that, you're always in the, you know, in a state that you think you're closing off some
Yeah.
of the windows for yourself and just betting on a one thing that you
Yeah.
think it's the right thing to do.
I think it is a common problem. I have also a lot of people asking me to do uniforms or production, mass production of sometimes jackets or samples for a fashion line. I've recently been approached by 2 major menswear that want to pay bottom prices, but they'll be able to give me $150,000 of work per year. But they don't align with our values. And I know that if I took it on, we'll be so stressed out, we'll work really hard, we have lots of cash flow, but very little profit, and we'll be not happy. You want to work with people that you're happy with, do the work you enjoy doing,
Yeah,
and the money take home in the end.
yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. We knew that you started this new business recently called the Modern Gentry. So how do you find time to start a third business?
Yes, time. I don't like to sit still. I like to be challenged and learning new things all the time. And the fitting room, we've already done so much automation with the marketing. I've got a really good team, great manager. I don't like to micromanage, so I'm happy to step back a little bit. And the Modern Gentry is a new business that teaches young to medium-aged guys how to be the modern gentleman. And I found a market in this business through my clients, because everyone's always asking me, you know, what should I wear to this event? What do I do with this suit? What do I do in this occasion? What's a good place to go to for certain events, with table manners, wine, all sorts of stuff. Brisbane is such a young place, and Australia is such a young country. There's not many places that teach you tradition, manner, style, etiquette, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
How do you manage competition in general?
You don't focus on your competition. Have them in your peripheral vision, know what they're doing, but don't focus on them. If you have a unique selling point, you don't even have to worry about them.
True. And all those fashion shops that you mentioned before, so how do you manage relationship with them? Because isn't that like, are you getting a lot of business from them?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how do you manage that?
Yeah, a lot of our clients, they give us a lot of business. I guess like in the traditional Chinese way, you take them out to a pub, buy them lunch, take them to a strip club.
Does anyone do that? Here's you.
But I guess in fashion, the staff change so fast. Every month there's a new manager. So what we do is just provide excellent service. We make our service indispensable. They can't live without us. And they tell us that all the time as well. And yeah, so they won't change.
Good. And have you considered franchise the business?
No.
Why not?
There's just not enough skills in Brisbane. We have so much difficulty hiring staff. No one has the level of experience that we require, that we have to train our own staff. And it needs to be in a closed environment where everyone can help each other. And we have people that are good at suits, some people are good at jeans, some people are good at shirts. But once you franchise it out, it becomes lots of little businesses that you can't control with very limited skills. So I don't think that's going to work, not in my industry.
But you mentioned that you've put in place some process and then systems to help automate everything that happens in the business, and also there's quite a bit of branding going on. Does that not help with franchising at all? The automation helps with lead generation, getting clients through the door, but I can't easily replicate the work that we do. So like to ensure the same level of quality and all
Yeah,
that.
the fitting stylists and the back of the shop tailors.
Has there anyone in your industry who's done this successfully?
Yes. No. I mean, very unsuccessfully. There's a guy in Sydney who had a very successful shop. Then he franchised it out. He went national, got lots of big brands because he's national.
Yeah.
But all the franchisees, they only have 1 to 2 years experience. They can't cater for the number of jobs required, the volume, or they can't do the quality. So, like, they have accounts with all the major department stores, but the staff in the department stores recommend clients to come directly to us because they know that franchise cannot even shorten sleeves properly.
I see. I have one last question. Does anybody have anything else to ask? Okay, so my last question for your interview today is, what motivated you to come to our event and speak to the audience today?
Other than that, Lindsey just sent me a LinkedIn message.
Other than that?
I don't think my story is remarkable or unique. Like, a lot of people have gone through similar things or much more difficult situations. But so many people have a tall poppy syndrome. They don't want to talk about themselves or appear like they're showing off, appear like they're vain, which is something I had to overcome as well, talking about myself all the time. I think once you do start telling your story, like, it has resonated with so many people. You know, it resonated with that judge, and I think you said
Yes.
it resonated with you.
Definitely.
And it helps to make you more memorable once people know your story. They'll remember you better, they'll remember your business, and it's kind of like already building a relationship with people, so they will trust you more. Like, when you buy something really expensive, you want to know the story behind it.
Definitely, yeah.
That's why when we go to Chanel, there's like a whole plaque of story behind the flower and blah blah blah.
Yeah, they made a
And-
movie.
Yeah, that's how they can sell it for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time today, and yeah,
Thank you for inviting me.
it's a great pleasure.